Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Technology Officer Neil Sample.
Thank you. X.commerce empowers developers to create the future of commerce. Sounds like a bold statement, doesn't it? It is, but I firmly believe we're in a unique position to deliver on that promise. Let me tell you why. If you're anything like me, you're shopping differently today than you were 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. You know, 5 years ago, I used to rent DVDs. You remember DVDs, right? Renting DVDs meant going to Blockbuster, finding that every copy of the latest release was already rented, and then slogging through the back catalog to find something awesome that I still hadn't seen. Maybe like Battlefield Earth. 4 years ago, I moved into a house that had a 400-disc DVD carousel that I immediately pulled out, and of course sold it where? On eBay. Now, for the record, I replaced that DVD player with absolutely nothing. Between my DVR, on demand from the cable provider, and my streaming video service, I haven't rented another DVD since then. Not even Blade Runner. Take books, for example. 10 years ago, even then, I was already over bookstores. I was buying books almost exclusively online and hadn't been into a bookstore in years. In the last 5 years, though, I've switched again. Now I'm using e-readers, and my books are deliciously paper-free. People all over the world are starting to shift their buying habits as well. As I think you heard this morning, the last 10 years have seen more changes in retail commerce than the previous 100. And the next 10 years, we'll see even more. As consumers, we're all dramatically changing the way we shop. So how do we make sense of this transformation? There are four trends driving changes in consumer behavior across the globe. Thanks to smartphones, consumers are now always connected. The window between thought and action is dramatically shortening, and real-time commerce is here. Siri, please buy me an iPhone 5. No, 5. There's something wrong. Local. Consumers love buying local because of the instant gratification and the customer experience. After decades of local merchants fighting the catalog merchants and then fighting discount chains and then fighting online shopping, local merchants like Soccer Pro are now using their unique flavor to win back our wallets. It's actually pretty cool. And we've always relied on word of mouth from friends and family when making key purchases. Social networks have made access to word of mouth even easier and scaled it to such an extent that it's become a primary influencer for our purchasing decisions. As Katie noted this morning, social word of mouth marketing is now represented by an API. And last but not least, digital goods are revolutionizing business models and user experience in many areas of commerce through microtransactions like app store purchases, instant global rentals, cloud-based storage, and multi-device access. Finally, in an era of globalization, these trends are spreading like wildfire across both countries and continents. Cross-border trading is rising rapidly, and national borders are no longer barriers to commerce. However, in the face of all this change, merchants are absolutely struggling. They're desperately trying to keep up. Even large national chains are finding themselves in deep trouble because they haven't kept up with the pace of innovation. No matter what the size of a merchant's business, staying abreast of the latest technology trends is no longer optional. They'll either figure out how to adapt their business and leverage these trends, or they'll go the way of the dodo. And here's where we, as developers, have a ginormous opportunity. You have exactly what it takes to make merchants successful. You can solve the really hard technical problems and help every merchant, big and small. Hi, I'm Neil Sample, CTO of X.commerce, and I'm a developer. I'm here to make sure X.commerce empowers you to create the future of commerce. As you can see, I've always been excited about technology and its potential to change the world. With X.commerce, I'm finally living my dream. You know, I started by spending an awful lot of time in school, getting 4 degrees, including a PhD from Stanford in scheduling. I loved computers. Then, I spent some time at the CIA. Really. Later, I went to Right Order, where we did catalog management. It was the absolute epitome of merchant pain, integrating catalogs from both suppliers and merchants. And finally, at Yahoo, I ran the developer network, where I met many of you before while working on open APIs and platforms. And now, X.commerce, living my dream. And I've had that dream for a long, long, long time. As you can see from this clip, I've always had both fantastic hair and a desire to be a technologist.
I don't know. I'll be a computer programmer.
Why do you select that?
I don't know. I like computers.
So X.commerce is helping me live my childhood dream. But my goal is to make sure that you have what you need to live your dream, to innovate and to help drive this transformation. Together, we can create the future of commerce. And that future is huge. We have an absolutely incredible opportunity in front of us. As John talked about this morning, retail commerce is really, really big. It was about $8 trillion last year, and online and web-enabled offline are significant. It's already about half of all retail commerce. But 2 years from now, this story gets even better. Commerce grows to $10 trillion. The overall share occupied by online and that web-enabled offline gets even bigger. But why is this noteworthy? Why do we care? Well, one, developers want to pay particular attention to the web-enabled offline segment. This space is already large, but still relatively young, and there's still tons of opportunities for innovation. And two, merchants, if you've been selling only offline and procrastinating about going online, you need to get started now. Play offense. There's so many ways to grow your business through technology. And play defense. There's so many ways to lose out if you don't. So what's holding us back? What's in our way from fully realizing this opportunity? In talking to both developers and to merchants, we've identified three primary issues. The first issue is reach. Merchants are having a hard time finding the right capabilities they need to grow their businesses. And developers that build these capabilities have difficulty distributing them to merchants. Sales and marketing costs are prohibitive, and discoverability, even today, is still a major issue. We hope that some of the things that we're going to bring to market, like Magento Connect, will help solve these problems. Second, there's the idea of integration. Merchants need multiple capabilities as they grow their businesses. Unfortunately, most of the capabilities don't fit well and work with each other out of the box. Integration costs leach away valuable time, effort, and money from merchants. Developers also suffer because the integration costs are a barrier to the widespread adoption of their capabilities. As we also saw in the Toys R Us example from this morning, being able to get all of your capabilities in one place, ease of integration means ease of onboarding for both the merchants and the developers. Finally, there's the issue of collaboration. Developers need inspiration for their capabilities from merchants through a rich exchange of ideas with them. Merchant input is one of our most valuable resources. As I mentioned before, our mission is to empower developers, i.e. you, to create the future of commerce. As a major player in the commerce ecosystem, we're in a great position to do this by solving for these three issues: reach, integration, and collaboration. And that's what we're doing with X.commerce. First, to address the issue of reach, we're creating a one-stop shop for all things commerce. Merchants can find all the capabilities they need, and developers can showcase those capabilities in one place. Second, to address the issue of integration, we've created a cloud-based framework that allows existing capabilities to be onboarded with a merchant system or to mix in other capabilities very easily. And third, to address the issue of collaboration, we're building an open ecosystem that allows merchants and developers to collaboratively build and use those capabilities. So this is our vision for how you play in the ecosystem. Capabilities, those are the things that provide the foundation. What's a capability? A capability is any technology or service designed to solve a business problem in commerce. We, as eBay Inc., offer a wide range of capabilities. You, as developers, mix in your own. We have a few of you, like Kenshu, Terapeak, Outright, and Adobe, who are doing this already. Next comes the platform products, like our Fabric, that helps integrate capabilities with each other seamlessly. This makes individual capabilities much more useful and creates opportunity for building aggregated capabilities as well. In the future, we'll offer additional platform products that help build and host services for developers. Merchant products, like Magento, GSI Commerce, or carts or applications that you build can leverage the capabilities via the fabric to help merchants grow. These products can either leverage individual capabilities or multiple capabilities simultaneously. And finally, consumer products like PayPal Access that we announced this morning, the consumer products that we offer, services or applications that you build, they can all leverage capabilities via the fabric to both monetize and create great consumer experiences. There now. You have the 4-layer cake that spans the entire ecosystem with potential for innovation at every level. So we're seeding this marketplace with some pretty powerful capabilities and some pretty serious leverage for you guys as developers. First, let's start with eBay. It's a marketplace with 97 million active users worldwide. When you choose to use eBay as a channel, you have direct access to those 97 million consumers already built in. PayPal is a wallet provider with over 100 million accounts worldwide. Similarly, when you build your application to use the PayPal capability, you're getting the power of those 100 million consumers as well. And of course, Milo is a leading edge local product search provider that when you need to connect with that local business, you know you've got Milo on your side. Elsewhere in the stack, you can talk about Magento. It has over 100,000 merchants already and 3,000 to 5,000 new downloads of Magento every single day. And of course, we can't forget GSI Commerce, a leading provider for the world's premier brands and retailers. That when you're looking to access the big guys online, look no further than GSI. You've heard time and again that X.commerce is bringing the combined strengths of eBay Inc. to bear, and these are just a few of the examples how. Now, the current practice of point-to-point integration between merchant systems and developer capabilities is a pain. You know it, I know it. In this world, merchants can't easily experiment with new capabilities or switch to improved capabilities. And developers can't get merchants to adopt their latest capabilities either. This obviously hurts growth on both sides. Our cloud-based integration framework aims to dramatically reduce the data and tools integration costs for developers and provide merchants with a seamless experience. In addition, having an integration layer helps enable new types of optimizations by using data and analytics. This is what we refer to as super awesome. So you told us what you want. We talked about the functional aspects of the commerce operating system, but a good, usable system requires a lot more than that. When we first set out to build the fabric, we decided to talk to developers to actually understand what would make a good platform. And here's what we heard from you. The first thing was that the fabric absolutely has to be robust. It needed to be secure and scalable, and it had to be always on and continuously running, like a utility. You don't have time to worry about the reliability of the fabric when you operate your own service too. You also told us that it needs to be evolvable, that elements of the fabric need to be both autonomous and modular, so that as developers, you could swap out any of the existing components for whatever else it is that you would prefer or that you would prefer to build. Finally, you told us that the interfaces needed to be rich, they needed to be consistent, and they needed to be developer-friendly. Because the fabric could provide all the power in the world. But if it's too hard to use, well, what would we have built? A 500-pound canary. Something that looks nice and it sounds nice, but it just won't fly. Lastly, the fabric needs to be cloud-ready. And you didn't mean that the fabric had to run on its own cloud, but that it has to work and play well with the cloud that you may already be using. So let me walk you through an example of what the framework can do. To compete effectively in a web-enabled offline world, merchants need to integrate with a wide variety of capabilities and channels to stitch together compelling user experiences. This is hard, technical work that distracts them from their core business. Let's continue with the example of Soccer Pro, which you might have seen at the main session this morning. There, the merchant wishes to expand their reach by listing on eBay and to drive traffic to their website by using a search engine marketer like Kenshu. These seemingly disparate channels would normally require a custom integration for each one. So let's take a deep look now at how X.commerce greatly simplifies this problem. My friend and colleague, Marina Sif, will now help walk through a demo of what those experiences look like. Please say hi to Marine. So Maureen's logged into the Magento admin console. We've introduced channels as a first-class concept into Magento. Not just one user interface, but a single tab lets a merchant manage all of their channels at once. Now, let's see how we've simplified a complex data integration problem. In the past, to integrate with multiple channels, merchants needed to map their custom schema to each channel's product schema, since each channel defines the products differently. This meant more effort, more time, and more cost for the merchant. What we've done is defined a standardized product schema. So merchants just map to one product schema, and we take care of mapping to all of the channels that a merchant might want to use. So let's see how this is done. Maureen has brought up the attribute mapping screen, where the merchant's product types on the left are to be mapped to one of the standard types in X.commerce. So let's say the merchant uses a product type jackets. This is mapped to the product type men's outerwear on X.commerce. After one-time setup, X.commerce takes care of the appropriate mapping for all existing as well as all future channels that might show up in X.commerce. And for developers, mapping their capability happens once as well. All existing merchants can use it immediately. So what have we done here? The idea is that we're going to dramatically reduce setup time. Merchants map once to use any capability. Developers map once to address every single merchant. So let's see how easy it is for a merchant to take their products and now push it down multiple channels simultaneously. On this next screen, it's as simple as choosing the target channel and selecting the products to publish. What I want you to notice is how similar the operations are to publish products to eBay, meaning do a product listing, as they are to publish to Kenshu, which is search engine marketing. For eBay, you'd choose the channel, select a set of appropriate products, and then publish it to the marketplace. So for Kenshu, there's no difference. You choose the channel, select the products, and publish to campaign. Voila. It's exactly the same. We've created a framework that makes these things very, very simple for a merchant. All the developer needs to do is plug in their custom capabilities. You integrate your offerings once and have it readily available for all merchants connecting to the platform. As soon as the third channel comes up or the fourth channel comes up, the merchant can skip all of those steps, and the developer can skip all of the integration steps as well. Finally, there's a lot of power that's unlocked because these channels are integrated into a single framework. Data aggregation becomes trivial. Solutions like the one offered by Terapeak, which is already integrated into X.commerce, are now able to offer insights into a merchant's business by analyzing all of their channel activities in one consolidated view. This opens up significant opportunities. As a developer, you could create a kick-ass recommendation engine to better distribute products across channels, or optimize marketing spend, or whatever it was you could dream of with that merchant. Now, this is the power of X.commerce, and this is where your innovation shapes the future of commerce itself. Thanks, Maureen.
Sure.
So what we just saw was a seamless way for merchants to operate with varying commerce capabilities. Developers are able to extend and offer awesome, innovative capabilities that can be readily consumed. But what makes this change possible are essentially two things. One, a fabric that provides the glue, which brings together a variety of developer-powered capabilities and has all of the ilities that we talked about before, like scalability, reliability, availability, etc. And two, an open ontology, standards and common rules, providing a common language for all capabilities to speak. The fabric brings them together, and the ontology has them working well together. Now, as a result, merchants and developers can spend their effort innovating rather than integrating. Innovating rather than integrating. So open source and open innovation go hand in hand. As you can see, our technology stack is very much open source. Magento Commerce is wide open today, and as we noted before, is already downloaded 3,000 to 5,000 times every single day. Or the fact that we're using OpenStack and Cloud Foundry to power our own platform offerings. What it means is that we're using open source software and we're also giving back. You can contribute to the very essence of the technology that powers everything we do just by contributing to one of these projects. In addition, you can see other projects that we're contributing to. Turmeric, VJet, Joomla. where each represents either an open source eBay technology or a project that eBay contributes to because it's important to our own success. So finally, what's in it for you? Well, if you're a merchant, X.commerce creates a number of ways for you to leverage the latest technology trends now and in the future to grow your business. Getting what you need from developers to remain competitive is the name of the game for merchants. If you're a developer, X.commerce empowers you to create the future of commerce by simplifying your life and giving you new opportunities. If you're in the business of building capabilities for commerce, integrate with our fabric once and make it available to every merchant and every developer now and in the future. And if you're in the business of building merchant or consumer products, integrate with our fabric once and leverage every capability it has to offer now and in the future. So let's do this thing. With the X.commerce developer package that we're making available today, you can get started immediately building and leveraging capabilities to help grow businesses. The fabric creates a nice network effect in the ecosystem. Every new participant connecting creates value not only for themselves, but also for every other existing participant. So look, as a developer, you now have unparalleled reach, a platform to innovate, an opportunity to build tremendous value, and quite literally create the future of commerce. Once again, I'm Neil Sample, and I'm a developer. Thank you. So since this is a breakout, we'll also have a few minutes for questions and answers. We'll have mic runners in the audience, and so if you just put your hands up, we'll get you the microphone. And questions for either myself or Maureen, we'll answer them for you now. I see hands, but I don't see microphones.
The microphones are on the two stands right in the two aisles in front of you.
Got it. Come to the mic.
Hello. That Toys R Us buy on the phone but pick up in the store, was that done with extensions or like custom code, or how was that done? Like in the Toys R Us thing that you showed earlier?
Yeah, so Toys R Us is actually hosted on GSI. The products that you see, the interfaces there, the APIs that we're using through either PayPal or Milo have been made available through the fabric, which means Toys R Us only had to integrate once to the fabric to take advantage of each of those services. I see more folks walking. It's a long way to that mic.
Hi, I'm wondering what integration features you have for other carts besides Magento. Magento is about 12% of the cart market right now. How would other carts integrate with this platform?
That's a great question. So one of the things to understand is that Magento is a great cart. I might be a little biased. I might even think that Magento is the best cart, and that anybody who doesn't use Magento, well, they should be using GSI. But if you're not using one of those two, the platform truly is open. It is a specification. It is a series of ontologies and messages that have been defined in an open standards way so that they're all visible, there are no proprietary APIs, and that it's all public. And what that means is it doesn't matter what your cart is. It can be Evolution, it can be PrestaShop, it can be BigCommerce, it can be Yahoo Small Business. We're open for business today. You can integrate immediately with the fabric and start taking advantages of all of the capabilities published through the fabric, again, regardless of the cart. I want to encourage you all, of course, to use Magento. But if you've fallen into the trap of using something else, again, you're still welcome.
You guys were demoing that integration with eBay. Is that with integration with Magento? Is that in the form of an extension that we download from Magento Connect, or how is that going to be accessible to us, and when is it going to be accessible to us?
Yes, so you can actually use that channel product with a Magento extension. You can download it now, and you can start listing products immediately through to eBay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I've noticed most of your demos this morning have been Magento Enterprise. Can you give us any idea about how much of this cool stuff is going to be available possibly through Magento Community?
I could, but rather than do that, I'm going to encourage you to see the next talk in this room, where Yoav is actually going to tell you specifically about Magento and how Magento is interfacing with the fabric and with the rest of X.commerce. And so he'll have a little more information really about how it'll interplay with community, with enterprise, with professional, and with Go.
You mentioned the reach to the merchants as a benefit for the platform. What is it that Magento and X.commerce are going to be doing? Right now you have that tray on PayPal, which I think is essentially dead. You have the eBay Echo open platforms. I'm not familiar with Magento's extensions category, but I think there were 4,800, so finding applications in there is going to be tough. How do you guys see helping application providers reach the merchant and essentially sell their product to the merchants?
Yep, that's a great question. So how are we going to help bring the developer products to our merchants? There have been a lot of Magento extensions, for example, for a long time, 4,800 of them. And in the past, it's been a little bit rough. But if you came this morning and you saw Roy Rubin's talk, he talked to you quite a bit about Magento Connect, which provides an app store interface to those Magento extensions. They're not only available and discoverable through search. If you know what you're looking for, you can type it in a search box and bring up all of the extensions that match. But there are also categories where you can browse commerce capabilities by category and as a merchant quickly discover the things you want to do.
Hello there. You mentioned that the interconnection to the various online channels are based on an open ontology. Could you talk a little more about how the ontology works and whether it takes RDF inputs or whether you can basically work in it with OWL and other semantic tools?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So there have been a lot of attempts at open ontologies in the past, whether it's UDDI as a spec or EDI for ERP and logistics. There have been, again, many, many attempts. But all of those attempts have taken an aspect of, a very vertical aspect of commerce and tried to, frankly, define the heck out of it. What we've done with the open ontology system is we sort of started from the ground up. When we looked, for example, at search engine marketing, we said there needs to be a language, a representation for the verbs and the nouns in search engine marketing. And we started creating what we called a contract. Now, with one partner, it was very, very easy. A contract, all they had to do was look like that partner's API, and we were done. It was a perfect contract because everything we knew about the universe of search engine marketing was represented by that one partner. But as soon as you add a second partner, you have to start to generalize. You have to start saying, aha, here are the common elements, the core things that represent search engine marketing. These will be in the contract. And here are the optional elements, things that vary between this second provider and the first, or the third provider and the second, and so on. And so by creating an open ontology, one that's not fixed, with a series of vertical contracts, what we're able to do is we're able to build up new service definitions and capabilities over time as new players come into the ecosystem. The reason it needs to be open is that we're not as prescriptive as we could be. We don't know everything about commerce. We don't know everything about the services that our partners are going to offer, and we think that an evolutionary approach is one that makes sense. If you look back to even the 4 trends, you can say that social, local, mobile, digital, these things are shaping commerce today. But we don't want to build a fixed ontology, one that isn't extensible, because those may not be the trends that are shaping commerce even 3 years from now. And so by building an open ontology, one that's community-driven, we believe that we'll end up with an open and extensible framework that allows for all potential message types and everything that a developer can even think of. I think there.
Yeah. As a merchant who uses Magento, one of the things that we're concerned with is using those 4,800 applications that let us extend our Magento infrastructure. However, upgrading has been an issue with us, and orphaned products that don't get upgraded by developers who've created it in older versions. What kind of system is going to be put in place to support extensions that have, let's say, a large group of sellers that are using it, but there's no one who's upgrading it anymore?
Right. That's also a very good question. The only thing I can do at this point is hint a little bit to what Yoav is going to tell you later today about how we'll actually try to get isolation amongst extensions so that they don't have to conflict with one another. And there are various interesting opportunities to do that now that we've got Magento Go as a managed product. And the future of Magento will take into consideration the idea that all the time, all the extensions that we've created aren't always going to be relevant and aren't always going to be kept up to date. So I'd say put a pin in that question and bring it to Yoav in the very next session, and he'll give you a detailed answer on how we'll be making affordances for that in Magento.
Without getting too deep into the weeds, I was just wondering if you could go over a little bit more in detail about how the fabric works under the hood. Like, is it like XML, is it JSON, or is it what kind of RPC? And then beyond that, what kind of access control limitation is there between various endpoints in the fabric? I mean, is that locked down or not, and to what extent?
Good question. So there's a lot of detail in there, and I'll cover a little bit at a high level. And again, I'm going to make another pitch for Jeremy Carrier, our chief architect, is giving a session this afternoon at 3 o'clock on From Code to Capability, where he'll actually show you how from the ground up to write a capability, how to integrate it with the fabric, and how to get it up and running, how to get it live. But the primary root of that question is how do these things communicate with one another? You can think of the fabric in some ways as sort of a message-oriented middleware. The messages are defined by these contracts, and as long as you're speaking the language of the contract, you can use any service that itself adheres to the contract. So if you send messages in that are pointed at search engine marketing capabilities, any search engine marketing capability should be able to listen to it. Now, we've taken and done this in a language-agnostic approach so that there aren't particular language libraries that you have to have, although right now, for the record, data is internally encoded as JSON, and over the wire we further compress it down using the Avro libraries. But the Avro libraries are available for essentially any modern programming language that you're interested in. As far as the interaction model goes, the second part of the question, the primary interface is asynchronous. There's a message passing interface where you actually send messages into the fabric and wait for, with a listener or an HTTP listener to have a message sent back. Because we know that in commerce there are a lot of asynchronous operations that need to happen. But there's also a synchronous bridge coming as well, so that if you prefer an RPC style interface to make your request and response, that you'll be able to do that also.
Hi Neil, I'm from Terapeak. It was great to work on the demo with you guys.
Sweet.
Thank you. One thing that I found really refreshing as a partner is to work with a development organization that's really engaged and is really active. I mean, we saw a lot of updates to the X.commerce fabric just throughout the few weeks of development that we were working together. So thanks for that. I'd like to hear your perspective as CTO on kind of what X.commerce's priorities are, and if we can hope to continue to see that kind of active engagement and development from your company.
Absolutely. Thank you. I didn't even pay him to ask that. From our perspective, the priority is pretty simple. We're trying to build a framework that empowers developers to create the future of commerce. And what that means is that we're going to build a lot of these framework elements. We're going to invest our time in the X.commerce fabric. We're going to build a substrate so that developers can plug into them and get access to merchants. We're going to build this substrate out so that merchants can plug in and get access to developers and to get access to their capabilities. Now, we have a lot of capabilities already in the ecosystem. It's the eBay channel, it's PayPal, it's Milo, it's Zong, it's all of these other capabilities. But those are things that exist already. Our primary goal isn't going to be building out capabilities. We don't want to build a whole lot more. We've got the ones that we're already invested in, and we expect that you guys as developers will create those capabilities in the ecosystem. So our priority then is to focus on the parts of the system that will make it easier for developers to create those capabilities so that we don't have to create them ourselves. That, of course, means the fabric, it means the ontology, and it means the evolution of the lingua franca in which capabilities speak to one another.
Hello. Is there some sort of a plan for you guys to build a kind of an API that takes care of all of this fabric, because there are multiple channels, though you say the integration is done through Magento, but all merchants don't have the same platform. So is there a general capability API that you're going to build so that we can cater to all channels for this fabric?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you're talking about the channel in the sense of the merchant view, what the merchant sees, it's really important to understand that what you saw here had two pieces. There was the front-end component that ran in Magento, and that's what the merchant sees. That's how they interface with the product. And then there's the back-end components that run in the fabric that actually manipulate the channel, that manipulate catalogs and do things like publish to eBay or publish to Kenshu. That second piece is tremendously generic. What that means is that if you wanted to take out that channel partner, that channel piece, and put it into another product, embed it into something like BigCommerce or to PrestaShop, you could do so. But in order to do so, you would probably still have to rewrite that front-end component, the piece that the merchant sees inside that product. So the business logic is isolated, the heavy lifting is there, and the platform will continue to run, and all you have to do to take advantage of it in your next cart, in your next business, in your next application is rewrite a small bit of the front-end logic.
Thank you.
Yes. If I'm a merchant, how do I find a developer to help me? And if I'm a developer, how do I promote myself with the merchants? Where do those two come together?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the second part, if you're a developer, how do you find your merchants? That one's pretty easy. We're working on that right now through our vehicles like Magento Connect. And what we're creating is a storefront so that merchants can go and actually find the capabilities that they need from developers. If you want direct access, if you want the merchants talking to developers or developers talking to developers, the thing we recommend is that you actually approach the right community forums. So Magento has a community forum, one that's constantly being upgraded and enhanced and has, I think, remarkable support not only from the Magento team, but from other Magento community members, where if you have a technical question, how do I build this extension, you can get someone to answer, either from the Magento community or from Magento themselves. So the right approach for those types of questions, I think, is to use the community products that exist on each of these sites. PayPal similarly, if you have questions about the PayPal APIs, there is a PayPal community that you can address. The same goes with eBay and with the rest of our developer sites.
One more question. What exactly level is the Fabric in right now? Is it kind of in developer mode? Is it ready for full production environment, high volume environment? Kind of what state is it at right now?
It's in the state of super awesome. So we've got live traffic running through the Fabric now. It's running actually on the partners that you saw listed there. We're using OpenStack, we're using Cloud Foundry, we've got it live and we're pushing production traffic. There's not a lot. And the reason there's not a lot is that we've actually constrained the number of partners that are pushing traffic through it initially as we evolve the Fabric. What we'll tell you, though, is that you can have an entire copy of the Fabric for yourself today to start using it, to start kicking the tires, to start writing new contracts, to look at performance, to look at latency, to look at the functional capabilities of the API. If you go to that dev kit on X.com and you download it, there's a fully functional local instance of the Fabric that you can use today. So you can actually get out ahead of us. In some cases, if you weren't part of the preferred partner program, you can already be integrating to the Fabric so that when we blow the doors off the thing, you can turn it on because you've been able to do all of your development in isolation up front.
How will HTML5 and WebSockets play in the future?
Of?
The whole front end.
Oh.
With WebSockets being have a bidirectional communication.
Yeah. So I think that's a little beyond the scope of the Fabric in some aspects, but look, I think HTML5 is going to be disruptive. You know, in the same way that we saw apps being disruptive, we'll see HTML5 doing it. If you look specifically to your question about WebSockets, I think WebSockets are fascinating. You know, I work in a business that's powered by real-time transactions. If you look across eBay Inc., one of the really important pieces is called eBay.com, and a lot of what they do is auctions. I mean, talk about the power for real-time updates. You write an HTML5 app, you have your WebSocket connect to a back-end server, and the second you're outbid, don't worry about waiting for SMS. Don't worry about waiting for email. Identify and notify that application immediately in the user's browser and give them immediate feedback. These are the kinds of things that you can do with HTML5 and with WebSockets, and I think they'll absolutely transform front-end experiences, especially for eBay and especially for real-time commerce.
Yeah, hi, you touched on this a little bit, but when you say the Fabric, are you guys running a network of this Fabric that connects these things together? Is the Fabric just a code, or can I as a developer run my own network? That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good question as well. So the question there is the Fabric a network? Is it a mesh? And is it isolatable? Can you run different instances of the Fabric? The first answer is yes, it absolutely is. You can run your own instance of the Fabric, again, by downloading that developer WebKit. What that also means is that you'll also be able to write applications that use a local instance of the Fabric that can use local services and access local resources, whether that's on a computer, on a tablet, on a mobile phone, without actually calling into the cloud. Now, for us, we are providing an instance of the Fabric that is distributed, that is cohesive, and is always on. It provides access to cloud-based services, and we believe that this canonical instance of the Fabric is where you'll go as your one-stop shop. If you integrate with that version of the Fabric, then you will make your service available to everybody. If you integrate to a different instance of the Fabric, and we see a bifurcation in the market, well, it might be the same problem that we see in different Android app stores, for example, that you don't have access to the full set of customers, and customers don't have access to the full set of the data. So with respect to local services, we think it makes a lot of sense to have a local instance of the Fabric. But with respect to the global business, if you want to get that flywheel of commerce running, if you want merchants to access capabilities and capabilities to drive merchant experiences, we think integrating with the canonical version of the Fabric makes sense. And the screen is giving me the hook. I'm apparently out of time. Thank you all very much for attending.